Did you hear that the federal troops are being removed from Portland?
Yeah, but I'll believe it when I see it, and also then Trump and acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf were like, not so fast, it's not like that. So Kate Brown announced it on Twitter, and then they were like, not really. So it's very nebulous. Nate Cohen, who is more informed and well-read than I, just told me this. Quote, the big thing is that the super shady tactical team from CPB, Customs and Border Patrol, is gone. Yeah. They're the ones grabbing people. They are always FPS officers and marshals there. That's normal. They just have extra at the moment. So the phased plan is basically CPB out, the others are staying, etc. That being said, Chad Wolf did say that he'll keep stuff there until there's no longer a threat of violence against the federal courthouse and federal properties. And in a country like America, that's never going to go away. Violence.
I love that building so much.
It's not even that sexy a building. I guess
what are they afraid is going to happen to it?
Well, at this point, the building has become a symbol. So, do I think that there's a probability or possibility that a significant chunk of the protesters want to burn it down now? I wouldn't be surprised.
That's true.
People before didn't. The protests there started, and then the Portland Police Bureau escalated violence, which made people more want to protest, which made them put up a fence, which upset people more, and then just kept on. Everything that the local police did resulted in. Not everything they did. Some things they did had people show up less, but every proactive thing they did had more people show up. And then once the feds came in, it became like, oh, that's just, that's it.
It became national.
Yeah, that became, and then and people who were casual about the protests were now listen they hate Trump. They don't like the notion of federal officers, in a sense, federal troops, to be dramatic. They don't like that idea in their city,
they're not like diplomats. They came ready to fuck people up.
Oh, yeah. Bunch of dweebs coming to beat us up.
Are they dweebish?
I've been out there. I've not been roughed up. I'm so afraid of being roughed up. I'm so scared of any kind of pain. I have had I got shot in the arm with something, and it left a dinky bruise, nothing photogenic. And I've had so many comrades out there reporting or protesting or providing aid who have been wrecked, and are they're spiritually dweebs. Sure, some of them are gonna be jacked, but they hide
goons.
Yeah, exactly. They're, I don't like the word thugs because it's so racialized, but they're brutes. They're henchmen.
Yeah,
and
I heard this interview where this dude was he was one of the Border Patrol people, and he was I know a lot of colleagues that want to crack heads of people that we disagree with.
Yeah.
They disagree with. The people on Facebook, some of them are going to work for the Border Patrol, and they're going to, you know how hateful they get on Facebook, so.
Yeah. Well, and it's you're also, if you're in any kind of law enforcement, you get kind of indoctrinated into this death cult, sort of, where you're you can sit there, they condition you to think of yourself as a predator, as a killer, as an actor of violence. So you're kind of just primed and ready. You want to beat people up, and anyone who tells you, it never feels good when anyone tells you you're wrong about anything. That never feels good. And now imagine as people are you suck because of your job and you're bad, and then of course they're I want to crack heads, and it's scary because they have no real discipline. They aren't it's not an efficient. My my mom called me. It's not like an efficient tool of violence. It's which in some ways is good. You know, it's not like they sent in SEAL Team 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of scary that they just, you know, they'll pull their live. They've not used like bullets, but they have pulled real guns several times. You know, and pointed them just indiscriminately into the crowd. They've just been shooting at a lot of people's heads with like, you know, less lethal munitions, but it's still cracked skulls and busted eye. Like, it's total chaos and total lack of any kind of coherent strategy outside of inflicting pain on people. Which, you know, I think they
I mean, it's the American tradition. That's why people were protesting, and that's why George Floyd died, I think, is because we have this mentality towards policing. And I think it's like the American job thing. Like, Americans identify as their job, so a policeman has to be the best policeman. They have to like get the most. They have to get the same energy that a football player gets off a sack.
Yeah.
At their job, or like a rapper. So they're competing on that level, and I think we don't have like culture or spirituality to fall back on. So they're trying to get everything from their job, and I just think that we have a shallow culture, and that is most evident in our policemen.
I agree.
But there's like a lot of shit that we need to change about what we value and honor in our society.
Yeah. It's an angry, individualistic society. I mean, that is America. You know, I mean, it's, you know, F you, I got mine. You know, so it's like, there isn't really a sense of greater American community. Like, which is kind of part of the big initial problem of a lot of policing is, there's so many problems with policing. I mean, like, not to give, like, anything as one problem, but, like, most urban police officers like live in the burbs. They live in the suburbs, and suburbs have so little culture. By everyone just drives to you know, their Red Robins, etc. Just by the by the architecture of it. You don't like, you know, you can kind of know your neighbors, but that's been a big trend in America, not knowing your neighbors. So these people who like live in these atomized, individualized communities then go to a different community where they have no real connection and get to basically be anonymous, get to have control over people's lives, and get to basically just enact whatever kind of brutality they need to enact to fill that weird American-shaped hole in all of our souls. It's weird. It's wild. It's a bummer. Not good. Don't recommend. Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the alternative? We have to produce a nouveau culture because we can't go back to primitive tribalism.
Yeah, I mean, there's smarter people than I who have come up with the exact with suggestions for the solution. I don't have a solution that I love personally because the big problem, of course, is like, police culture since forever, but really since like the Reagan era, has like skyrocketed in terms of its weird cultish behavior. Like, I mean, it's not like there was ever a golden era when police weren't racist, when police weren't actively used to, you know, enslave or re-enslave black Americans. Like, it's not like that. You know, I mean, police have always been, in some form or the other, a tool of the oppressive capitalist racist state. But, you know, ever since, I don't know, you know, the Reagan Revolution, cops have gotten a lot more into the brand of like being blue and thin blue line and blue lives matter and all that jazz. So it seems like you kind of would have to start from scratch. And that's,
well, I feel like before Reagan, it was like a local cop. You'd walk the beat, and then you got into like living in the suburbs and commuting to your police job downtown. And I heard that like 18% of Portland cops live in Portland.
Yeah, it's an absurd. Yeah, it's so few. It's so few Portland cops live in Portland, and in that case, you have less reason to be worried about people in your like in your community hating on you. Because like if you live in the community and you kill someone in the community, or beat someone up in the community, you gotta have to deal with like people not liking you. Like, and that's the greatest governing tool is among humans is intersocial pressure, and that's kind of, I mean, America has done a great job of destroying that in all of our communities. Is it's so rare to know your neighbors, even if you live in a city. It's a bummer. I mean, I have a big fear that, like, given how radicalized cops have been, we can't just abolish the police like that, because then the police will still exist. And then you're like, where do they go? You look at, like, the best historical, analog for abolishing the police is Iraq after we got rid of the Ba'ath Party. The Ba'ath Party, of course, wasn't like a religious group, but it was a kind of like an oppressive political semi-death cult all under, Saddam's power. So you get rid of all those Ba'ath guys. You're like, okay, your party's done, Saddam's gone, your government structure's gone, where do they go? A lot of them went to form ISIS. Even though ISIS is, like, people talk about ISIS as, of course, like a religious organization, but really it's kind of like a violent work organization. It's something for a lot of...
You're afraid that police are going to form like a white ISIS.
Yeah, ISIS. No, it's something like, I mean, because what are they going to do? Like, if you're trained to, like, think the entire world is against you, and that, like, these Antifa and Black Lives Matter thugs are, like, terrorizing the world, and I'm the only one, I'm the thin blue line defending, like, our like, what are they going to do? Are they going to go become a barista? Like, going to work at Target? Like, can you imagine, like, a cop, like, working customer service? Like...
the ego.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, just, like, like a copying an Uber driver? I know there are cop Uber drivers, like, all these things that, like... Yeah, what are they gonna do? Like, if I was a weird nationalist organization leader, or a white nationalist organization leader, or, like, a non-white nationalist one, like... If I was a weird sovereignty group, any of that weird stuff, or if I ran a cult, like, grabbing cops if they got, if the police disappeared, grabbing cops to join my cause would be right on top of my list. It's so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You gotta take care of them.
Yeah, gotta give them something to do. I don't know, like, have them.
So, I mean, when people hear about the Portland protests, like, the right people who are against it, or just, like, moderates, will be like, why did I have to try to break into the federal courthouse? Why do they have to try to start a fire? What are they doing that for? Like, what do you say to that?
I mean, there isn't a defined leadership of the Portland protests, and that's kind of by design, but kind of by the universality of the oppression and the pain. Because, like, as the protest has been happening, the cops and the feds have escalated so much, they've radicalized thousands of Portlandians who weren't normally radicalized. So, like, there's a lot of pain and anger that they've caused. So, like, all it takes is one person to start a fire. All it takes is one person to try to get into the federal courthouse. Like, if they didn't... There's a huge array of different ideologies at the Portland protest, because there's a huge array of people that have been brutalized, or know people that have been brutalized by the Portland police, by police in other cities, by the feds. So when people say, like, oh, like, why can't they just be more respectable? It's like, you can't control that. You can't control a mass movement. And, like, it's a statement. I've talked to moms out there, in the wall of moms, which, is its own thing. Stuff's been happening with them this morning, or at least their online organization or whatever. But, like, I talked to, like, some, like, middle-aged suburban moms who, what's it called? who are like, yeah, I want to like tear shit down because they're mad. You know, people don't like to do mass property destruction unless there's like a spiritual reason, kind of a ritualized reason. Well, the fence, the initial Portland sacred fence that was erected between the protesters and the Justice Center, became a flashpoint that people wanted to tear down because it was like a symbol of like the state ignoring the people. The Justice Center has become a flashpoint because that's where all the feds and like a lot of the PPB are like stationed. So people want to start fires there because they want to like express their rage at that location, at that symbolic location. And also, a large chunk of the people there want to instigate some kind of state violence because the state violence is so extreme and unnecessary that every time they do it, it shows that like that the state is out of control. Like you throw, I've just been documenting and chanting, but if someone throws a water bottle at a cop, like that's half full, do they deserve to get riddled with pepper pellets? Like, do they deserve to get a tear gas canister in their head? I'd say no. And people see that and go, wow, that sucks, I'll be out there tomorrow. And then they get a tear gas canister in their chest, and they go, ow, that hurt, and I feared for my life. I'm now kind of addicted to the Black Lives Matter protest. I'm going to go out, I'm going to tell my friends to come out. So it's kind of like, you know, peaceful protests, like, the protests I've been out have always been peaceful in a lot of ways. They've always mostly been peaceful. That's a term that kind of means nothing, but like the feds and the cops are the instigators, and I don't know. So it's like if people don't want there to be violence or damp property destruction there, they should really talk to the feds and the cops and get them to stop doing it. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, if you shoot tear gas at a crowd of people and rubber bullets and stuff, then you should be expected to have violence be met back.
Yeah.
And it's not just like a one-time thing. It's like there was a back and forth going on.
Yeah.
And just because the feds are gone, I mean, Portland police were pretty violent even before the feds.
I mean, they were 50 days of the Portland police being violent, like, and there were some ways they were more violent than the feds. I do think the feds, on the whole, have been more violent, but the Portland police were more inclined to chase the protesters through town because they knew that. I was in a crowd where the Portland police drove into it. They didn't hit anybody, luckily. Everyone was able to get out of the way, but if people didn't get out of the way, they would have been hit. Like, the Portland police, like, and just for the record, the feds are not gone, and we do not know if they are actually going to be gone. It's so confusing, and I don't like how everything was posted. You know, like, Kate Brown tweeted that they're leaving, and now it seems like and then Chad Wolf said they're not leaving, and who knows what's happening. We'll have to wait and see. Tonight's going to be wild out there. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, if they leave, say they leave, then that's a pretty good thing that happens, and it shows how ridiculous Trump was. He just sent them in with no plan and was like, I don't know it's like Iraq.
Yep.
Like George Bush did.
It's like it's kind of funny. If they leave, it's like every single modern American use of like military force. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan,
Mogadishu.
Yep, like just send them in, and then we lose. After we cause a lot of pain and destruction, and then we leave or we stay forever. And like we love to, like, I've been like thinking it's so weird that, like, because we didn't win in Korea either. Like the amount of times America like has won like any kind of use of federal force is so small. Like, hell, even when we like did our silly war against Grenada, you know, we still like lost a boat like of people because we flipped it over because our equipment is so bad. It's weird. It's wild. Like even yeah, like it's good. I think it's on the whole. If the feds leave, it's good because the feds are a different type of brutal, and they're using like expired tear gas, and for people that have uteruses, it's really messing them up. But there is a thing to be said that the federal troops brought in a lot more, or the federal forces, I don't know, I mean, troops is a vague concept, but the federal forces brought in a lot more national attention and a lot more casual protesters who have now become like, Black Bloc Antifa, Black liberation people. Like that dude, what's his name? Chris David, the giant, like 50-year-old Marine dude, not Marine,
yeah.
Navy guy. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he wasn't out there except for like once the feds were out there, and then they responded by wimpily trying to beat him up.
That was great for the movement.
It was. That guy seems so cool. Like stuff like that. Like so there's like, from a propaganda perspective for the people who are supporting, Black liberation, especially in Portland, which is such a white city. The feds. There's an argument to be made that the feds were a good galvanizing point. That and it's really the question of, do you value, like, what's your strategy on like trading lives? Like, is a bunch of people getting brutalized worth it for the greater good? And that's so it's a question: are you utilitarian or not? And I'm not saying I'm one way or the other, because like I just try to go out there and document. I have a very small platform, but I have a platform that at least I know have some people that like aren't seeing other stuff. There are so many better people reporting than me when I go out there, but anyway, it's trying to be as objective as I can, and I don't really even know like how I fully feel, because it was awesome seeing when the federal troops came in, seeing the amount of people who had previously not been out there, that seeing them come in and be like, oh cool. And hopefully if the federal troops leave, those people will still realize that the Portland Police Bureau brutalized Portland for almost 2 months prior to Trump's stormtroopers coming in, and who knows.
Yeah, hopefully they stick.
Yeah.
So I think like Trump did it so that he could be the law and order, like show, hey look, do you want the left to win? Because they're just going to do this. And the knock on the left and Antifa is they just want to burn everything down.
Yeah.
And they don't have a replacement strategy. But I don't like that argument, because it's like, just because we notice something is wrong doesn't mean that we have to have like a complete different government structure to replace it, to tell you that, hey, maybe we shouldn't be committing violence like in a very robotic way, just as a habit. So
yeah, and also the whole argument that the Antifa and Black Lives Matter don't have. Well, first off, Black Lives Matter is a real movement, and Antifa is a very vague philosophy. So it's one of those things, but like part of it is just how the national media covers it. The national media is bad, generally. Like, they've done some good stuff, but like they've been bad in how they cover it, because like Teresa Rayford's organization. Well, Teresa Rayford started it with some other people. I don't want to like ignore the other people who work, but like Don't Shoot PDX has a lot of policy propositions that are really good, and there are a lot of people who've been working like night and day coming up with good ways to reallocate the funds that go into every police bureau across the nation. And there is good plans. There is like how to reinvest. I mean, so much money that goes to police would actually prevent crime if we were housing people so that they weren't driven to like severe mental health crises by being forced to live on the street. Like, there are like clear plans, but of course the media covers it and they're like, look at these vegan hippies with their hacky sacks. It's the same thing with Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street did have clear policy proposals, but the media, both the right wing and like the center media and Jon Stewart people like that, all like were like, look at these kids in their stoner jackets. Like they had policy plans, just no one acknowledged them. Black Lives Matter and all that group. That's I'm ranting. I drank a lot of coffee today, and I'm.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's, I see what you're. I don't know. It is frustrating because like first off, protesting something that's wrong is cool, and you shouldn't have to like be like, here's my academic treaty that's 20 pages long about like, or treatise about how like, here's what we should do with policing in America. You should just say it's wrong that black people get systemically brutalized and murdered, and indigenous people get brutalized and murdered, and in general a lot of people of color get brutalized and murdered. You can say that's wrong and then go out and fight there. Hell, you know what? A lot of white people get killed also by the cops, and you know what? White people should also be out there protesting that, because cops cops are racist, definitely, but they're also like indiscriminate murderers. And in like, it's just, when things are wrong, it's good to protest things that are wrong, and you don't need to be an expert about it.
Yeah, I mean, they have this habit, they know how to treat protesters so that nothing happens. They did this for the Vietnam protests.
Yeah.
I mean, the right will use every dirty trick in the book to win the culture war, because they know they can't compete logically, so they just use their power like Nixon and Reagan and just shove their ideas down our throats.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? And I mean, of course, George W. Bush. I mean, one of the most de-radicalizing elements of my life was seeing how impotent the anti-Iraq war protests were. You know, like all that energy and momentum, and then we still committed a genocide, and we still have destroyed an entire region of the world, and we're still there.
Reason.
Yeah.
For weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, and even yeah, it's ridiculous what we did. I mean, we barely even got any control of the oil because we destabilized the region so much that we couldn't. We're still like struggling to like get like the wealth that we were trying to loot. And it's
just like so aimless. It's not even like evil. It's just incompetent. It's like they can't help themselves. They're like a dog that chases its tail. They got to go attack other countries.
It's capitalism, baby. Because that's the thing, is like we have all these defense contractors, and that's like the only thing the American like economy is producing. So we just have to keep on justifying these like super planes and helicopters that explode when they like fly above 30 feet, and like we have to just keep on making all this like junk, and then the cops buy it, and the federal officers buy it, and they're using it against like the people of Portland right now, and they're planning on using it in Albuquerque and Chicago. They're using it in New York. They're using it they're using it in Chicago already, I believe. But yeah, like they got to justify their purchases, and they keep on making them. And that's the only thing it seems to be made in America right now, is just weapons used to brutalize and destroy lives. It's a bummer. Yep. And we have a $40 trillion hammer budget. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree to some extent, but I disagree mostly, because World War II definitely was a significant way to get out of the Great Depression. But, like, of course, the New Deal was hugely important for that, too. We gave a bunch of people jobs so that they wouldn't create a mass Bolshevik revolution in America. Like, the entire national, not the entire National Park Service, but a huge majority of the national parks in America were built and maintained, and like monuments were crafted there by all these people who had lost their entire lives during the Great Depression, and we were giving people jobs. And then of course when World War II happened, we actually like turned around and were like, okay, we have these decent paying jobs for men and women to like build stuff, and that contributed to the New Deal bump that had already happened. But of course, like World War II was very different than like, I don't know, when like Lockheed Martin's making like an Apache helicopter. Like there isn't actually like an enemy like Nazi Germany and the Empire of Japan, like, and of course the Italians, but like Mussolini wasn't that. Yeah. Yeah, they're the third wheel on the Japan Germany date, and then they're like, I'm a hero too. It's a me, Mussolini. Sorry for my anti-Italian racism. Yeah. Yep, yeah. Khatami. Iran. So the least brown Middle Easterners. I got to get my, and then of course I've been living in Portland for 12 years, which gets you a nice pastiness. I've been taking advantage of the summer to bulk up on my tan. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so I mean World War II definitely helped, but like the economy changed so much. I mean, wages back then were so much better representatively. Like, jobs were better. There were real unions. Like, yeah, so it's like now, like, even if we got invaded by, like, the Independence Day aliens or something, like, we wouldn't have the same work economy bump, because they don't care. I don't know. It's so bleak. So like these civil military contractors, of course, even though we produce a lot of the equipment, it doesn't benefit us. I don't know. Yeah. What's the quote? It's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. I don't know. Depending on my mood. Sometimes I'm super optimistic. And sometimes I'm very bleak. I mean, of course, the defeat of Brother Bernard Sanders was a pretty bleak wake up call. To what the American people genuinely want, because he was still a capitalist. He was a capitalist that just had minor social reforms. Like he was saying, what if we use some of this power of capitalism to help your life? And the voters were like, no, we don't want to make our own lives better. And it's bleak. So what do we imagine after capitalism is like? I don't know. Full on. I don't know. Apocalypse to totalitarianism. I don't know. Like I'm not in a good mood about it today. When yeah. Oh, we're not getting Star Trek. I would love. I wish. I just feel like look at like. We're around the same age. Our entire lives we've been hearing about climate change and how it's destroying the world, and we've been seeing it happen more and more, and nothing has changed, or nothing has stopped. So like, what's gonna happen when like Bangladesh becomes unlivable because sea levels have risen? What's gonna happen when like Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and Yemen and Oman become unlivable because of the heat? We're gonna have these migration movements that are going to be these massive amounts of people all over, like from all over the world, primarily from the global south, from the black and brown nations. And then it scares me to think that, like, and already you get these white supremacists in Europe and America who are talking about this, and they're like, we have to protect our countries, and our heritage from the countries that they've looted and destroyed. And it's going to have, I don't know, like, I get really bleak. So let me be optimistic. I think the police state will come down, and we will do restorative socialist justice for the world. We will stop global warming, and we will. That's my hope. I'm just gonna choose to believe that. Yeah, I can't even finish that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I miss comedy. I miss doing like it's so bleak. Yeah, it was. And that. I mean, I don't know. I get worried about the idea of population control. I don't know, because we have enough resources to feed everyone, like to have everyone on the planet be fat and rich, basically. I mean, not rich because like relative rich is a relative concept, but like I get worried about that because that just who's that's going to affect? It's going to affect like Indian minorities and Chinese minorities and like in China and India. It's gonna like the bourgeois. It's not like we're gonna be like, hey England, work on your population control. Yeah, I think it work. I don't know. Maybe AI will help, but like I don't trust. I don't trust the Bezoses. I don't trust the Epsteins and the Elon Musks. And all I mean the Koch brothers. Like they're all like the people that control the world. I mean, they're not going down without a fight, and they already have won. so if AI gets made, hopefully somehow it's moral, but I can't imagine that like the same people who like like are actively destroying Earth are like gonna they're the ones that are gonna control what the AI thinks. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm a communist. I don't think about my political ideology as much as I mean, I can think about the ideology I have, but I don't think about the label for it as much. I'm definitely moving towards anarchism, but not like anarchism like there isn't any society, get rid of it, but more like, communist anarchism where it's smaller intercommunal spaces that protect each other and regulate each other. Basically, not, of course, tribalism or whatever, because that is kind of destroyed and hopeless in a global world. But, I mean, that's the only way to, hold any of us accountable any of the people with power accountable is if power is lessened and diffused throughout all communities, and so which hopefully maybe things will get so bad, who knows. I mean, we're in this time of COVID where it's like maybe society will crumble so much that all the Gen Zers and the next gens will become full-on anarchists, pull down the state, take care of each other. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I mean, COVID is the great what's it called? Uh yeah, it's the great radicalizer because it is showing us that, like, first, having your healthcare tied to your employment's bad. It shows us that there isn't really any protections. I've been waiting for my unemployment to get processed for over 3 months, and it just hasn't been processed. Which I have an okay living scenario that has resulted in me being able to survive, and but a lot, I don't know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, honestly, there's a what's it called here. Let me see. Let me see if I can show you this. We have our Oregon unemployment number that you're supposed to call, and here's the number. I'm calling it right now. I'm putting on speaker. Unemployment. Let's see. Does it ring? Not ringing yet. But our systems are just so bad. There it is. There it is. I don't know if you hear that. Yep, it's always busy, and it just stays like that forever. And you can't leave a message. They don't put you on hold. You just have to do it over and over. I've gotten through with some like nefarious tactics, but then like those avenues got closed. The moment people exploit them. So it's people are realizing how little safety net there is for anyone that isn't anyone at all. Pretty much that isn't super 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 powerful. So yeah, thank God I still have my food stamps. Yeah. You know. Um, so I was out for about 20 days and nights at various protests and rallies. I used to go to the marches, but I eventually felt that my energy was better used for getting chased around by the cops downtown at night. But other people have been out so much more than I am. Every now and again I see someone say like, "Oh, Chris Khatami was out every night." No, 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 no. I'm a coward. I would need to take time off. After my first gassing, I took 13 days off, and I had an excuse for every night I took off. But I was like, but deep down it was because I didn't want to be out there. So where was I going? Oh yeah, so basically like there are people in town that suck, who have like bad ideology about it, or like who don't support the protest movement. But the general mood in the town is people who can protest want to go out to protest, and people who can't are racked with guilt that they can't, and are donating money to awesome causes, donating supplies to awesome causes, offering rides to people that need to be saved, like posting. Everyone has become like, a lot of people are becoming citizen journalists. A lot of people are, there are so many people. I mean, like, Ben Tier is doing great work out there. And, of course, like, Tuck Woodstock and Corey Alia and I Ride OK and Sergio Olmos and Suzette Smith. And I'm forgetting some names. Lindsay Smith. I mean, there's so many great people out there doing amazing work. Endless people covering what's happening. Like, people are all... Because I'm on quarantine right now because my parents are coming up here in a week. And if I give them COVID, I will feel very, very guilty for killing my old parents. So I don't want to be in a big crowd of people who are, like, coughing up air because they've been gassed with weird chemicals from 2001. Like, I don't want any of that. But the mood in Portland is, like, people are pissed that they're feds here. People are pissed that the Portland police are working with them, and that the Portland police in general have been so brutal. People are very much in support. The movement isn't dying. It just seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't lose focus of black people. And that is a thing that the national media has been saying, which I would say is almost a bold-faced lie, is the national media is trying to draw attention away from black people and from black liberation and from Black Lives Matter. But every time I've been out at the marches, they still say George Floyd's name. They still say Breonna Taylor. They say Quanice Hayes. They say, they say everyone's name down to Emmett Till. Like, there's still that. There's still people are still protesting for that. The people who are given space and time to speak are black leaders and black people in general. The protests still chant Black Lives Matter. They still chant the names. Black people who like make statements, just even in a crowd, are given space that they deserve and respect and all that. Like the movement, like people are still protesting for Black lives. The people in the protests and the marches have not lost track of that. The media likes to make it seem like it's a bunch of white anarchists. But the crowds are pretty damn diverse. I mean, you've been to Portland before. You know it's like, like it's not that hard to be diverse in Like, it's not that hard to make a diverse crowd in Portland. It's like, you know, it's... Yeah. Yeah. It works to, like, yeah, I mean... America needs black oppression. America needs to oppress black people to like function as is. It's built into our like structure. So like these, you know, I mean, it's just you need a permanent underclass to like, to like be labor. Our economy was built on slave labor for the longest time. When that got taken away, immediately switched to Jim Crow, which was pretty much the same thing. And then, of course, prison labor. Yeah, it needs to have. You can't just have extended exponential growth without some people like at the bottom. And when you have it racialized, it's easier to get people to support it. You know, if everyone sees themselves as equally on the bottom rung, solidarity forms. But one of the greatest achievements of the American empire has been convincing like poor white people that they're not like they shouldn't have solidarity with poor black people, and they should. Yeah. Yep. So of course, you're gonna see like the national media, even like the liberal media, like even them, they're gonna be like, they're not gonna. With the Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos needs poor people to work in his Amazon warehouses. Like they're not gonna, like they're not. It's not so much that they actively are going to try to delegitimize the protest movements. It's more that you hire people who actively disengage, who aren't engaged with that class level. You see like New York Times wrote, like they just wrote an article. This is just a weird example, but they wrote an article about like, it was titled like, "Why Live in New York When You Can Live Anywhere?" And it was about people moving out of New York during... knocked over. Yeah. It's about people who left New York after living in after the coronavirus. Because why would you live in New York if you if you aren't getting the perks of New York? If you can't like go to like New York bars and see New York comedy and New York art and go to Broadway, all that. Otherwise, you're just paying way too much. But the article was about this like these two like an employed married couple with like a shared like yearly income of like $0.9 million who moved to like Ohio to like have more money. And it's like, no, like I know so many people in New York who have had to move out of New York and live back with their family because their jobs died in New York and they can't afford like $1,500 rent for a Harry Potter closet. Like it's. But the New York Times, they wrote that like that because the people that they hire are people with a class interest and class awareness of some people making almost $1 million a year. And so it's like, so you're going to see a lot of people, So it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things. You're going to see a lot of people say, that's when like, oh, the protests have lost focus. They're no longer fighting for black people. Every time I've been out there, the signs are still for black people. They're no joke. Well, there are very few joke, ironic signs. They're not. They're still focused on black people. They're focused. They still bring up Breonna Taylor. They still bring up George Floyd. the people that started this current iteration of Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, the executions that started it. Like, they still do all that, and it's good. That's optimistic. I mean, I do think I got depressed earlier, of course, in this call, thinking about the bleak state of the world, but I don't know. I think that we've reached a point where at least the current structure of police in America can't go back to normal. Too many people have seen the horrible behavior of the police, and also too many people have been like, oh, those seem like reasonable requests to the police, and then watched as the police responded with like a violent tantrum, So yeah, I don't know. I've been rambling, but I like talk. I appreciate getting to purge some of my hot takes or my lukewarm takes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's wild. I've been here 12 years, and Portland has never been as relevant as it is today. Yeah. Yeah, you guys had us at Northwest. A lot of people get bundled up during the winter. We're trapped inside when it's wet and cold, and then we explode out. There are all these white supremacists around to agitate stuff. It's these like white supremacists surrounding these like small areas of progressivism, so it creates a lot of tension. Yeah. I mean, y'all up in Seattle need to step up your game. You usually are better than us. But and when you had the Chaz, and then when you just burned down that juvenile detention, that was awesome. Or I don't know, editorializing. I think it's cool that they burnt down a thing that was gonna jail kids. Yeah. That was like so. But y'all need to step it up. Your cops are different than ours because we have like vampire cops. They only do brutality at night. I saw yours were just like daywalkers, which is, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, cop unions are the strongest unions in America, which is hilarious because cops were... And one of the things that cops did in their earliest history was bust up unions. So, I guess, if you kill enough unions, you gain their power. Yeah, exactly. You eat the souls of a union. Like, no protest movement that's ever been successful hasn't had something that the state has deemed violent. Because, like, history has softened, or Martin Luther King, but people were calling his protests violent all the time. There isn't... You want to look for, like, a non-violent protest. You look at, like, the Women's March, or you look at the March for Sanity. Do you remember the rally to restore sanity? Oh, it was Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert making fun of it, and they were like, we've got these white supremacists on the right and environmentalists on the left, and they're both equally not sane. And it's like, it's both, it's whatever. But it's, and I think the Women's March was really awesome and good, and but it didn't do anything, because there wasn't any. The state understood that if they had shot one white woman there, I mean, can you imagine? The Trump would have been pulled out of the White House and executed if, like, they had killed someone at the Women's March. You know what I mean? Like that would have gone insane. And that's kind of the smart thing. But, like, peaceful movements are... The movement here is, I would argue, peaceful. It's not like no one's bringing guns. They're bringing shields, lacrosse sticks, hockey sticks. They're all the weapons people are bringing, fireworks. They're not using anything that's dangerous on any real level against the guns and explosions and batons being used. Like, so, but like, a peaceful thing that does that doesn't inconvenience capital never is gonna get never gonna get pressure. Like, people are just gonna wait for it to burn out. But like every day that go on. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we want, so I think some protesting is good, and of course, sometimes it's bad, but you get what you want when the local chamber of commerce is like, we got to stop these protests because no one's going to the mall anymore. You got to make it's direct action. I don't support violence, but I support direct action. It's that, and direct action is called violence by the state, and so it's all violence. It's the whole "why are you resisting? I feared for my life." Everything against the state is considered a violent movement because it's a threat, and they got to delegitimize it. So I don't support. Oh yeah, go on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. 1,000,000,000%. Yeah. It's the Portland police, and I mean the national police in general. Really, every time anyone has asked for them to be accountable, have been aggressive and violent, and the more you do that, the more people are pissed off. Who has good experiences with cops, even if they're white? It's so weird that if they had just done some minor reforms, they probably wouldn't be in this boondoggle. Where at this point, I can't imagine that the Portland Police Bureau survives. I don't know how long they can go on like this. At least, and then that would create a national web, because people in Atlanta will be like, wait, Portland got rid of their current police structure? Why aren't we doing that? Minneapolis would be like, hey, they said they were going to defund them, but they've stopped doing that. Let's get rid of them. Because let's say these protests calm down. How long until another person of color is executed in the streets by the cops, or killed in their bed, or paralyzed, or whatever? How long until that happens? And there'll be another protest, and everyone who is radicalized from this protest will be out there. Maybe not everyone. Some people will have a job. Some people will move away. But everyone, but all these people, they're not just going to go back to being calm when the next problem happens. It'll just keep on going forever. So they've really escalated this to a point where they've overplayed their hands, because there's just not enough of them to kill all the people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No strategy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll see. That's the most exciting thing right now in this world that we're in right now is they've escalated. They've escalated to a point where there is going to have to be fundamental change. People aren't going to accept others. Or, will it happen within a few months or in a few years? Who knows? But it's going to happen. And that's beautiful. So thank you to the Portland police. Thank you to Ted Wheeler. Thank you to acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf. Thank you to my favorite president, Donald Trump. Like, they've all messed this up so much. Yeah, so I think Trump is simultaneously given more credit and less credit than he deserves as a strategist. I think Trump is an amazing entertainer. Like, he knows how to read a room. Like, you watch a Trump rally and it's like, oh, he's got the crowd in his hand, and yeah, oh my god, can you imagine? Hey, like, booking Trump, that'd be great. Like, he'd bring a room. Yeah, but him doing the water bit, like, where he's like, oh, am I gonna do it? Am I gonna do it? And it's like, people love that. Him imitating his walking down the stairs, funny. Like, he's like a good entertainer, even though he's a horrible, horrible person. Yeah. He can be, but he can be self-deprecating. Yeah. Yeah. He does, and he's a great tweeter. His posts are funny. It's gonna suck when we have, like, President Biden, and he's just not gonna be posting anything nearly as entertaining as Trump. When, like, yeah, well, I mean, and we don't even know if Joe Biden will be alive, but no, but so I think that Trump did this partly because he was irritated that this protest was happening, and he wanted to feel tough. But he also knew that it would get him some support and he misses his big rallies because he likes that. He likes that more than being president. He likes approval. So I think, yeah, I think that was a strategy, and I just don't think it was the right strategy for what he was really trying to do. Because now he has to do more work, which is his least favorite thing of being president, it seems, is to do the president stuff. Yeah, like, yeah, I have no idea what he has to do, but he has to deal with this while coronavirus is destroying America. Like, he has to, like, while there's an election happening that he's gonna lose. I mean, maybe he won't lose, but he's gonna. I don't know. It's gonna be hard for him to win. Like, it's interesting that he's just in a position that he is totally fucked himself in, and if he wins, you know what? Kudos, Donald. Kudos. I mean, 45% of America is going to vote for him no matter what. Like, it's just like that people vote. Oh, not 45% of America. What, like 10? The portion of America that votes Republican. It's, they're going to vote for him. And then, of course, he got, yeah. Yeah. No. No one's having a good time, and, like, so the way he could win, of course, is if Biden dies, like, right before, or has, like, a stroke right before the election. But that also could then make people sympathy vote. So, like, Biden would have to, like, have a stroke but not step down, or, like, it would be weird. It would, like, and of course, like, it's going to be a hard election for people to take seriously regardless, because it's all going to be, like, vote by mail, and our country is already so bad at that. Like, it's just going to be, we're not going to know the results of the election for, like, a month. And so who knows? Like, yeah, November's going to suck. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Never under, yeah. 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 What if Bolsonaro somehow slides in and wins the presidency of America? I would love that. Finally, a person born outside of America, and it's this this fascist idiot who keeps on getting coronavirus. Oh, he's gotten it like 4,000 times. It just seems like, and he's. I don't know how many times it's been confirmed. It may have only been confirmed once, but it does seem like he's gotten it a bunch, and like he's disappeared a lot and seemed sick a lot, and then like all of his circle keeps on getting it. So it's like, it seems like he's gotten it multiple times, and I don't know if he hasn't, but I like the joke if he has. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Um. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. A lot of comedians are out there at the protests. I mean, Ben Tier, Christian Burke, Tiff McGuire, a lot of those are out, Rachel Miles documenting the protests. So that's it. There are some people that are insisting on doing comedy, even though they shouldn't do it live. I don't support live comedy right now because there's been nothing that stopped coronavirus. Like except for, I'm not gonna bomb. I'm not gonna bomb and then kill people. Like it's one or the other. I mean, maybe, but still, I don't like that. Can I be right? I'll be right back. Be right back. I'm back, baby. Yeah, living life. Yeah, so Portland comedy. What's Portland comedy like right now? Oh, yeah, so people are doing outdoor shows. Look, the problem with that, I think, is that, like, every comic deals with, like, FOMO and, like, career FOMO, where, like, damn it, if I'm not hustling, grinding enough, like, is this all a waste? I'm not gonna break it big. I'm not gonna get booked at Joker's Comedy Club or whatever. So whenever you see someone, like, doing an outdoor show, you're like, damn it, I wish I was doing more comedy. And then when a club is like, hey, we're doing comedy stuff, it immediately makes you kind of think maybe I should do that. Like, outdoor shows, I think, kind of normalize doing comedy in general right now. And I don't love it, even though outdoor stuff is safe-ish. It stresses me out, given how quickly people just seem to have stopped caring about the fact that there's this pandemic that hasn't been fixed. It hasn't been solved. There are multiple ones. Also, like, no offense to some of the people that run them, but they're being run by people that I would not call necessarily funny. Like there are some people running good stuff, but it's just like it's I don't think it's worth it. And there's like other things you can be doing, but Oregon, oh yeah. Well, that's. I mean, especially in New York. New York is like so hustle and grindy. Yeah. Well, yeah, but they were like, I mean, New York was still, that state and that city were like the epicenter. So it's like, I don't. Let me just even look at the current stats for New York. Yeah. Yeah, but it has plateaued a bit, but it's still an alarming rate where it's like they've gone from having like 10,000 cases a day in New York State to 700, which is like still which we should remember that's still a lot. It's just not as preposterous. Yeah, well, like, let's see, the last day on July 28th, it was 715 in New York. So it's like yeah. I mean, and I mean, it's depressing to say, but they had it. It was such a big issue for like a lot of people are gone because of that. Oregon is like the opposite. We're just going up and up. But we're still not nowhere near New York. Like, our like highest number was I believe 428 was our highest number of new cases reported in a day. Yeah. There was a stat that I can't remember. It was like 1 out of every 400 New Yorkers in New York City had died from it. Like, I don't remember. I might be getting the stat horribly wrong, but it was something absurd like that, where like the amount of people who had died in New York City was just was. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can just check right here. Was a not small chunk of the population. I mean, right now it's like, what, 1 out of every 100 Americans has had coronavirus. I mean, let me actually check that first. So we've had we've had a total in the United States 4.46 million cases. So it's like 1 out of every 90 Americans has had it. I thought I had it for a bit, but then I was just burnt out from the protests. Yeah, so New York. Is there a way to see New York City? I guess let's just assume all of New York is New York City, just like a New Yorker would. All right, no, there it is. Oh, I can do it down here. Learning how to do this is very exciting podcasting. But yeah, so I don't know. I think Do comedy online. All right. So New York City, New York City has had 23,000 deaths from COVID. Now let's see what New York City uh, population is. So 23,000. New York City population is So all right. Thank you for finding that out. I typed the wrong thing and then I got distracted. All right. Oh yeah. You're right. They do always say that. Well, where's my calculator app? All right. So, all right. Let's see. 23,000 divided by 7 million. Oh, it's 8.3 million now, but who cares? Come on. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So 8 million. All right. Well, the point is, I'm bad at this. Divided by. Oh yeah. Oh, that's not that much. That's not as much. But it's like 3% of the population. Yeah. So I'm great at math. So I mean, a lot of people who are vulnerable in New York have died from it. So they have gotten their treatment down, but that's not at what cost? At a very horrible cost. I think, I don't know, like I've never loved stand up as much as I love producing stuff. So it's been easier for me to find the emotion I need outside of live. I mean, of course, I miss the energy of a crowd. I miss that. I loved that. But I don't, it's great. I don't miss like the energy of no crowd. Or just even, hey, I mean, you've done a show where you've like produced it and worked hard, and like you've booked like great good names, and then for some reason no one, and you've promoted it to hell, and for some reason like no one shows up. I mean, at least I've been there. Maybe you've never been there, but I've definitely been there. And when that happens, it's like, that sucks. So, I mean, like, I like doing stuff on Twitch now. I do Spec Strip, my show on Twitch. And, like, that feels like you don't get the same energy of the crowd. But, like, you can see the numbers. And when you have a bad number day, it doesn't feel nearly as bad as, like, having to look at that in a crowd. I mean, the difference is when there's no crowd there. In real life, you sometimes will have like 10 people on stage for my show, which is a table read. And you'll have 10 people on stage, and you look in the audience, and there are 2 people in the audience, and it's like, well, you never want to have more people on stage than on the audience. And that sucks. Huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true. I mean, well, the social dynamic of comedy can make it very toxic because it's a great breeding ground for alcoholism and for predatory behavior and all that jazz. That being said, I mean, I do feel I see a lot of people slipping into despair with quarantine life without having. So this is me doing a public service announcement. If you have any friends at all, reach out to them and be like, hey, do you want to watch a movie tonight? It's really fun to just have a phone call with somebody. You're both having your headphones in and you both watch a movie. You press play at the same time and you both watch. Last night I watched... What did I watch last night? I watched The Mask, the Jim Carrey movie. Yeah, it's great. And hey, we all wear masks now. and I watched The Core. Do you remember the movie where they had to explode the core to restart the core? I watched that a few days ago. It's fun. I wish. I wish. It's like what if Armageddon, but like not in space. It's under the surface of the Earth. It has a whack cast. It's like Aaron Eckhart, Hilary Swank, Delroy Lindo, Stanley Tucci, Alfred Woodard, Richard Jenkins, DJ Qualls. You know, it's fun. Yeah, it really is. It really is. And DJ Qualls plays a hacker called the Rat. Um, it's great. Yeah, Stanley Tucci has a lot of hair in it. So yeah, like it's really fun to do that. Like reach out to your friends is my PSA because it sucks. Like I mean, like it's good to be alone and remember who you are. But also like we are a social creature, so like check on people to make sure that the lack of direct human contact is not driving them to despair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Huh? Mm-hmm. I mean, it would suck if we didn't have this right now. Like, we didn't have the ability to, like, interact. Like, because, like, I'll just be working on my garden all day, and, like, but I can talk to people on the phone, or I can text them, and it feels like I'm not alone compared to, like, you know, I mean, if this happened back when you had to, like, AOL sign in, um, like you're like, oh god, or like before that, can you imagine if we were just all writing letters to me or to me to each other, but just like writing letters, and then like you find out your friend like killed themselves because they were all alone, but you had like sent them a letter, but it took too long to get, like that would suck. That would be devastating. Like I'm glad we have like you can always check on somebody. I can check on someone right now. I'll check. Yeah, I'm gonna check on someone at this very moment. Um, yeah, just yeah. I'm calling a cop and saying, "Hey, buddy, your blue life matters." A cab. All cops are beautiful. Yeah. You put the fun in defund. Just yeah. We love that's the thing, folks. We love yeah. No. Uh. It's It's yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I mean the times suck, but social media, as toxic as it can be, it does. I'm grateful that we have this right now. I'm grateful. Yeah, yeah. Well, I gotta quit my Showtime edition I added to Hulu, so I don't get charged for that because I needed Showtime to watch like The Core. Um. Yeah. Um. Oh boy, it really is. Yeah. No. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you been? What have you been doing? How have you been quarantining? Hmm. Ah, Dracula. Hmm. That's awesome. Uh, oh, I love me some weed. I'm gonna probably light up a pipe while I'm doing some weed. I'm gonna weed while I weed my garden. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, it does. Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Oh, that's fun. Um, yeah, I've been playing a little bit. I've not been gaming as much as I thought. I was at the beginning before the protest. Oh, I was gaming. Um, but post, yeah, um, uh, yeah, kind of. It really recontextualizes stuff. I just bought Outer Worlds for like $20, and that's fun because it's kind of like a Fallout game but better. Um, and it's kind of anti-capitalist. It's as anti-capitalist as like a video game can be. But it's solid, and you get to smack bandits with hammers. I've yet to really like get the groove of it. When you're playing a video game and it takes a while to like get the rhythm of it to like it. I'm there with that right now, where I'm like, I like it. Yeah, but I know I've not like gotten the point where I'm like, like I can play Skyrim whenever I want. Even though Skyrim arguably sucks, but I love Skyrim. I yeah, yeah. And the fun thing about Skyrim, to make a commercial for a game that came out 10 years ago, that it's fun is that Skyrim has a lot of like bad code problems in it that break the game while you're playing it and make it impossible to play. And that's the real game, is finding out the ways to like unbreak the game. Like I've played to this point where I got to a door that wouldn't open. This is very also exciting podcasting, but I got to a door that needed to open for a mission and it wouldn't open. And I kept on like looking online for, how do I get through this door? I cannot continue the game. And I found out that if I ran at it with like super speed while holding a certain object, if I hit it just right, I could phase through the door. And I spent like 2 days trying that. And I was on the phone with a friend the moment it happened, and I was so filled with an achievement. And that was the real game. I don't care about like killing an orc or whatever. It's the part when the game is so shoddily made that you like it ruins itself and you have to find a way to fix it. So that's my ad for it. Skyrim 2011. They never fixed it. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but yeah. So yeah. I February, maybe February, maybe March, maybe it's a whole year. There's a live I would not say country good. Country is bad. I like that like all the other countries are kind of handled it. Apparently, Trump is doing a press conference right now. I bet he's saying that he's gonna nuke Portland or something. Yeah, Trump, you need your safe space. There's a person online who I'm not friends with that many Trump people, but there's a woman online who is a Trump person. She's sharing Ben Shapiro's live stream of Trump, and it's like, wow, that's a very cursed sentiment. But yeah, no, yeah, we've handled this so badly because any active work to fix the crisis would validate like social democratic programs, not even liberals, like, because like it would validate like the Bernie Sanders movement. It would validate socialists. You need to pay for healthcare. You need to pay people. You need to like fix rent and housing and mortgaging. You need to basically what's it called? You need to give people money to survive. Like all the systems that are like that are American. They're like, no, we can't do that. This is America. Like, excuse me. So this is America. We cannot have blah blah blah. Like all that stuff is you. we can't do communism. No, oh dear Martha, we can't have communism. Like you gotta, like we're gonna, it admit it, and it's. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the Democratic platform overwhelmingly voted down, including call for Medicare for all, and it's like, how can you look at the coronavirus crisis and not be like, oh, we need to have free healthcare in a country that in a country where we're like, no, we workers and employee based healthcare is good. It's like, yeah, but like who cares if it's good healthcare if they lose it the moment the company shuts down when there's a health crisis? Like, it's ridiculous. It's so preposterous, and that's why we haven't done anything. And like now all the companies are like, we need to reopen everything because we need our money because we're not making any money. And it's like, cool, I'm glad that we didn't do anything to actively fix the problem. We just let a lot of people die, and now the disease is spiking in a lot of places, although apparently, they killed enough people in New York that it's not spiking there. And yeah, it's a bummer. You know what? That's yeah, so who knows? Who knows? Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I just looked back at the American stats just again, and like, oh yeah, we have we spiked early on. We spiked in April, and we plateaued at that spike, and then we started spiking in June, and potentially are still spiking or plateaued in July at a very alarming high rate. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know how many more people are going to die before the election, but it's we're gonna get to 200,000 deaths real soon. It still wouldn't have been good, but yeah, it would have definitely been better. It wouldn't have been good, of course, because like part of the reason is like the fear I have. Never mind. I don't want to get into too much about my thinking of what if Clinton was president. Um, but because it didn't happen. Yeah, but yeah, bleak times, bleak times. Yeah, yeah. New Zealand is. Yeah, we have like the least transferable skill set of yeah, linguistic based humor. Like, yeah. So New Zealand is good. England is okay. Australia is fine. I don't know what South Africa's like. Yeah, but moving to Canada's hack. Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. So entering a 500-year decline. I love it. Yeah. I don't give a damn. Um. I don't know. I don't know. I care enough about. I mean, look. Do I think? Look. Of course, I love Xi Jinping. He's great. We love him. Um. Yeah. Yes. He's great. He's not like Winnie the Pooh at all. You know what Uyghurs? What Hong Kong? Like it's. I don't know. It's American culture is just so much more expansionist than other empires. That like, look, is China like slowly taking over Africa? Yeah, but like, I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I don't really have many. I don't have any takes in China. Um, I get. Yeah. 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 Um. No. That's I mean, that's Chinese capitalism for you, you know? Like, it's still, it's you know, they say they're communists, which is just preposterous, you know? You don't take care of your people because your people don't really matter. It's only the people in charge. It's the same in every nation. Like, there's, like, which is the anarchism, yeah, is... Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ugh. Yeah. I mean, it's so one of my big takes is like regardless of like how a culture cares about its own people, you know, capitalism makes it so that you have to be evil to compete with the evil. So you know that's back to the depressing stuff. You know, like I know because when people say, yeah, yeah, um, yeah. All right, Vulcans, come in, bring us your culture. Yeah, bring. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah. And people are a lot less greedy when they're aware of when they're connected to their community. I just think that's like, it's just if you're not connected to your community, like it's easier to fuck over your community. So that's yeah, because everyone is in it for. uh, it really yeah. Yeah, but we will sell out our friends if it helps us. Except for me, I'm the most loyal. Um, I am the only loyal comedian. Yeah, yes, yes, dab. Anytime. Will do. Yeah, I'm back out there. What's your podcast called? Okay, never mind. I know what your podcast is called. I did my research. No, I'm back out there in like a two in August. I'll be back in like mid August. I'll be back out in the field, trying to see what's happening. I hope I'm not. I hope I get out. I'm gonna be able to be out there for a while, because it's. Thanks. They're okay. Well, thank you. I'm glad, because it always feels weird when you do them, because I listen to them back and I'm like, oh, I sound like a panicked, exhausted dork. Because it's scary, but it's also if you are listening to this and you have a chance to go out to a protest and it's not going to endanger people in your life and it's not going to endanger yourself too much, it's real. It's a real thing to do. It's realer than any comedy thing. It's realer than any job you've ever had. You're actually fighting for. You're part of history. So it's a cool, brave thing to do. It's terrifying, but it's real. Yeah. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of good people here. Yeah, there's a gluttony of information, and I love that. Uh, it is. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hmm. Yeah. Hey, you guys got a hockey team coming now. Uh, yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Ant. All right. Absolutely. Will do. And I'm gonna. Yeah. Hasta luego. Party on, buddy.